Robert stood on the cracked asphalt of the school parking lot, staring up at the aging building. The roofline sagged slightly, a subtle but persistent reminder of the task ahead. It wasn't just a roof, it was a symbol. Inside those walls, children were trying to learn while buckets collected rainwater. It had been this way for over a year, and the community was weary. Every meeting about it seemed to end the same way. Lots of talk, no action. Welcome to Leaders HQ, the source for motivated people building their leadership. Today, we're diving into one of the biggest challenges for any leader: building momentum when you're starting from zero. If you've ever felt stuck, like your goals are just out of reach and you don't know how to move forward, this story is for you. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll have practical strategies to kickstart momentum in your own projects. And hey, if you're ready to grow as a leader, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join our community of leaders transforming lives. Let's get started. Robert rubbed the back of his neck, feeling the weight of the project settle onto his shoulders. It wasn't that he didn't care. He did. But caring wasn't momentum, and right now, momentum was nowhere to be found. What he had instead was a growing list of demands: secure funding from local businesses, sway the city council, rally donations from neighbors already stretched thin. It all felt distant, theoretical, a mountain he couldn't even begin to climb. At his day job as a mechanic, problems were tangible: broken parts, strange noises, things that didn't run right. He had tools for those problems, steps to follow, outcomes he could predict. But this, leading a fractured community through months of effort, resistance, and uncertainty, that felt like staring at an engine he'd never seen before, with no manual to guide him. Robert's commitment was, at best, shallow. He was still hovering at the edge, unsure whether to step all the way in. But the thought of the kids sitting through another storm, the water dripping and the air thick with mildew, made him feel a flicker of something: guilt, frustration, responsibility, maybe all three. Think we'll actually pull it off this time? A voice broke into his thoughts. Robert turned to see one of the parents, arms crossed, looking up at the roof with him. Her tone wasn't hopeful, it was resigned. The kind of tone that said, "I've seen this play out before." Robert shrugged, a non-committal response he regretted immediately. It wasn't inspiring. But then again, he didn't feel inspired either. He realized he needed to move past this limbo, this half-in, half-out state. The project needed a leader, and whether he liked it or not, the community had begun looking at him to be that person. What they didn't know was that he had no idea how to rally people, let alone how to start from zero and build momentum where there was none. The thought of asking people, strangers even, for help made his stomach churn. Still, as he drove home that evening, his mind wouldn't quiet. He imagined the school roof fixed, kids running inside without having to dodge puddles, parents exchanging relieved smiles. The image stuck with him, growing brighter in his mind's eye. Maybe, just maybe, he could figure this out. But if he was going to try, he'd have to start somewhere. And starting, he realized, was the hardest part. Remember, leadership isn't just about having big goals. It's about taking the first step to make them a reality. If you're ready to grow, learn, and take action, hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your journey to unstoppable leadership starts here. Momentum is the energy that transforms effort into results, and results into progress. It's not just movement. It's meaningful, purpose-driven action that grows stronger with time. Let's think about a rocket ship for another minute. Imagine a rocket ship preparing for launch. The engines roar to life, expending tremendous energy to push the rocket off the ground. The force required to overcome gravity is immense, and the rocket seems to strain against the weight holding it back. Every second, it burns thousands of pounds of fuel just to inch higher into the sky. This is the critical phase, the battle against inertia. Now picture the moment the rocket reaches outer space. Gravity loosens its grip, and everything changes. The same engines that struggled to lift the rocket now propel it forward effortlessly. Tiny adjustments, a mere breath of thrust, are enough to move it vast distances. This is the power of momentum. Once you've overcome the initial resistance, progress comes more easily. Leadership momentum is no different. In the beginning, every step feels like an uphill battle. But once you push through those first challenges, aligning your team, achieving small wins, you'll find that progress takes on a life of its own. Like the rocket ship in orbit, momentum will carry you farther and faster than you thought possible, making the effort to start worthwhile. Think about your project. Maybe it's something you've been dreaming of but haven't started, or a goal you're working on but feel stuck in place. That's inertia. The weight of staying still, the overwhelming sense that moving forward is just too hard. But here's the truth. Momentum can change everything. Before momentum, everything feels difficult. Each decision feels heavy, and every action takes more energy than it should. It's easy to feel discouraged, like your project might never get off the ground. But what if you knew that a single step could change the entire trajectory of your work? What if one small win today could ignite a chain reaction, leading to progress you can't yet imagine? Imagine your project with momentum. Each step forward builds on the last. Progress fuels excitement, and excitement creates energy. You start to see results, small at first, then bigger, until the entire effort takes on a life of its own. The hard work becomes lighter, and confidence replaces doubt. You're not just pushing anymore, you're being propelled by the energy you've created. Today is the perfect day to take that first step. It doesn't have to be big, just enough to break through inertia. Maybe it's sending an email, making a decision, or completing one small task. That single action could be the spark that sets everything else in motion. Momentum is waiting for you to claim it. Remember, leadership isn't about avoiding challenges, it's about overcoming them. You have what it takes to create unstoppable momentum. Start small, start today, and let the power of forward motion transform your project and your leadership. You're closer to success than you think. Keep moving, and momentum will carry you the rest of the way. Take a moment to reflect on your own leadership. Is your team energized and moving toward a shared goal? Or are they stuck, disengaged, and waiting for something to change? What about you? Are you leading with clarity and confidence? Or are you feeling overwhelmed and unsure of where to start? These are important questions because recognizing where you are is the first step to creating momentum. Momentum starts small. It's not about big, flashy actions. It's about finding one small win. One thing you can do today to create even the slightest bit of forward motion. That first win might not seem like much, but it sets everything else in motion. It's the spark that lights the fire. So, let me ask you, what's one small step you can take this week? What's one small success you can create for your team? Start there. Momentum doesn't happen overnight, but every step you take brings you closer to where you want to be. Robert leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling of his tiny home office. The words momentum building lingered in his mind, strange and awkward, like a term from a world he had no business entering. Momentum. It sounded important, powerful, even, but it was as foreign to him as astrophysics. He had no frame of reference for it, no practical understanding of what it meant in action. The idea of building momentum seemed daunting, as if it were some mystical skill only a select few were born with. He glanced at the papers spread across his desk, a chaotic mix of notes, half-formed ideas, and a growing list of community contacts. Nothing on the page offered clarity or inspiration. His decision to take on the school roof project had seemed harmless at first, a good thing to do for the community. But now, with the weight of the task becoming clear, he realized he hadn't really committed. He had agreed to help in the same way people say yes to a favor they hope will never actually be called in. His involvement was hesitant, half-hearted. Deep down, he knew it wasn't enough. The project needed a leader, and right now, he wasn't that person. The school roof wasn't just leaking. It was deteriorating rapidly. Each storm worsened the damage, and the longer the repairs were delayed, the more expensive they would become. The community had 4 months to raise enough money to fix it, and the budget to fund those repairs was non-existent. The school district was out of options, and the local government wasn't stepping in. That left the responsibility squarely on the shoulders of the community. And for reasons that still weren't entirely clear to Robert, they had turned to him. His first problem was the team, or, more accurately, the lack of one. A handful of volunteers had expressed interest in helping, but they didn't know the scope of the project yet. They weren't organized, they weren't informed, and most importantly, they weren't engaged. Robert hadn't even held a meeting to bring them together, let alone explain the magnitude of what they were up against. He felt the weight of that failure acutely. Without the team's full buy-in, the project didn't stand a chance. They needed to be inspired, energized, and aligned around a common purpose, and right now, they were none of those things. Adding to his stress was the growing resistance from certain community groups. They called themselves fiscally responsible, but their actions felt more like obstruction. They argued that raising money for the roof was a waste, that the funds could be better spent elsewhere, or that the school district should solve its own problems. Their voices were loud, their arguments persuasive, and their influence over public opinion undeniable. Robert had no idea how to handle them. He wasn't a politician or a diplomat. Confrontation wasn't his strong suit, and the thought of standing up to these critics made his chest tighten. He was overwhelmed. The gap between where he was and where he needed to be felt insurmountable. He didn't know how to rally a team, counter resistance, or inspire a community. Momentum was a mystery to him, and the idea of creating it seemed laughable. But he couldn't deny the stakes. The school roof wasn't just a physical problem. It was a symbol of neglect, a reminder of the community's struggles. Fixing it would mean more than keeping the rain out. It would mean restoring hope and pride. That realization stirred something in him, a flicker of determination he couldn't ignore. Robert knew that if he was going to succeed, he would have to learn skills he'd never even thought about before. He needed to articulate a vision for the project that would inspire others. He needed to communicate that vision clearly and persuasively, both to his team and to the broader community. He needed to learn how to manage conflict, how to address criticism without letting it derail the project. He needed to become a builder, not of roofs, but of momentum. His team, scattered and disengaged as they were, held untapped potential. There was Nina, who had a gift for connecting with people and motivating action. She would be essential for rallying neighbors and organizing grassroots efforts. James, experienced in fundraising but known for cutting corners, could bring in donations if guided correctly. Alex, reliable and detail-oriented, could ensure that events ran smoothly and efficiently. Samantha's social media expertise could amplify their message and reach a broader audience. Layla, with her analytical mind, could focus their efforts where they would have the greatest impact. Marcus, patient and personable, could handle outreach and engage people directly. Sophia's professionalism could bring credibility to their media presence, while Carlos's charisma could win over skeptics. Even Todd, the ever-cautious critic, had value. His focus on practicality and thoroughness could keep the team grounded. Robert's job was to unite these people around a shared purpose. That wouldn't happen by accident. He had to create an environment where they felt valued, motivated, and connected to the project. He had to bring them together, not just physically in meetings, but emotionally, around the belief that they could achieve something great. That meant regular communication, celebrating small wins, and fostering a sense of shared ownership over the project's success. But the hardest part, he realized, wasn't rallying the team or countering resistance. It was committing fully. Robert couldn't lead if he was still holding back, still unsure whether this project was worth his time and energy. He had to let go of his doubts, embrace the challenge, and dive in completely. The community was counting on him, whether he felt ready or not. As he sat there, the chaos of his desk reflecting the chaos in his mind, Robert felt the flicker of determination grow into something stronger. The stakes were high, the challenges daunting, but he couldn't walk away. This was his moment to step up, to learn, to lead. The project needed momentum, and momentum started with him. Momentum changes everything. Over the course of this video, we've explored what it takes to transform a stalled project into a dynamic force of progress. We started by defining momentum, how it's the energy that turns small actions into big results, like a rocket ship breaking free from Earth's gravity. We saw how Robert, a leader with zero experience in momentum building, faced overwhelming challenges, shallow commitment, an uninformed team, and resistance from his community. Through his journey, we've uncovered the skills and resources required to push through inertia, people, education, inspiration, marketing, and strong relationships. Robert's story reminded us that momentum isn't about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about taking that first step. He didn't know where to start, but he committed to learning, connecting with his team, and creating a plan to turn ideas into action. Momentum, we've learned, is built one conversation, one decision, one small win at a time. Now, it's your turn. What project are you working on? Where do you feel stuck? This week, I challenge you to take one intentional step toward building momentum. Maybe it's reaching out to a potential collaborator, setting up a meeting to clarify your vision, or tackling a task you've been avoiding. Whatever it is, start small, but start now. You might be surprised at how one action can spark a chain reaction. Building momentum isn't easy, but it's worth it. Your project, your vision, your leadership, it all matters. And you're not alone. Share your project in the comments below. Let's start a conversation about the challenges you're facing and the steps you're taking to overcome them. Your journey could inspire someone else to take their first step, too. If this video resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and join our growing community of leaders. Together, we're building something powerful, a space where leaders like you can learn, grow, and create meaningful change. Thank you for being part of this journey. Remember, leadership is about action, not perfection. Take that first step this week, and let's build unstoppable momentum together. Keep leading, keep growing, and I'll see you in the next video.